This guy is just peacefully living his best slow-paced life in a newbie village, farming his crops and minding his own business. When suddenly, boom, the demon queen herself shows up. She's here for one reason only, to kill him and prove that she's the strongest being in the world. But things don't exactly go the way she planned, because in the end, she can't even beat his robot dog. Yeah, a dog. And instead of finishing her off, our guy does something even crazier. He takes her in. After all, he's not about to let a beauty like that go to waste. So, he casually locks the defeated demon queen inside his room like it's the most normal thing ever. Which raises one very important question. Who the hell is this guy? His name is Lu Ping, and he was just an ordinary office worker. The only thing that really excited him was watching short videos about farming and peaceful countryside life. And then one day, his dream suddenly comes true. He wakes up in a beginner village from what looks like a fantasy world. He has no idea how he got there, but honestly, he doesn't even care. This is exactly the kind of life he's always wanted. So following the guidance of a mysterious system, Luing slowly learns the basics of survival. Hunting, crafting, forging tools, everything he needs to live peacefully on his own. To him, magic and swords are completely unnecessary. All he wants is a quiet life, good food, and a little farm in the countryside. But the system has very different plans. It constantly purrs him, telling him to leave the village, explore the world, learn powerful magic, gather companions, and eventually defeat the Demon Queen to become the legendary hero. Meanwhile, the Demon Queen Elizabeth has already conquered most of the world. At this point, she's completely bored. The only thing left that interests her is finding the legendary hero from the prophecy and defeating him herself. But there's one problem. That legendary hero couldn't care less about saving the world. Luing just wants to farm crops and live a simple, carefree life. And then suddenly, the weather in his village changes drastically. The sky darkens and thunder rumbles ominously. And there comes Elizabeth, the demon queen herself. But instead of bowing in fear or acknowledging her immense power, our boy's first instinct is to rush to save his clothes and dried fish from the incoming storm. Our hero is in a good mood as he has saved his treasures. And of course, his trusty electronic pet dog, Wang Chai, is by his side, the only real companion he has. He tries to hurry Wang Chai inside, but just as he is about to go in, a voice echoes from above. Elizabeth, the demon queen herself, decides to make an appearance. Our boy glances at Wang Chai and asks his pet dog about her, but apparently referring to a powerful demon queen like she is just another passerby does not sit well with Elizabeth. The MC then realizes his massive error and immediately apologizes. Inside, though, he is panicking because obviously this village is supposed to be safe, not a stage for a sudden uninvited guest who is on top of that the demon queen herself. Elizabeth, on the other hand, throws something at him, probably to test his reaction. In a desperate attempt to protect himself, our boy tosses his treasure into the air. But the object lands right in his hand, and it turns out to be a sword. And not just any sword, mind you, but the glowing holy sword, Alpha. He tries to toss it away, but it seems like it has other plans. He is now holding a weapon of pure chaos, and he has no idea why. Elizabeth, who is watching him closely, mistakes his confusion for a clever trick. She figures he is hiding some incredible power. With that assumption in mind, she introduces herself, and then in the very next second decides that the best course of action is to kill him. Our poor hero is now more confused than ever, and he scratches his head as to how the heck the Demon Queen is here when he has not even left the village. Things are going from bad to worse, and just when he thinks it cannot get more ridiculous, Wang Guy starts barking at her. As Elizabeth starts casting her magic, the MC remembers that the system informed him that their encounter was bound to happen. And now, after realizing he has absolutely no control over his fate, he tosses the sword aside. After all, he is just a newbie in this crazy world. And with the ultimate boss showing up, it seems like surrender is his only option. With a half smile, our boy decides to retreat inside his house and feels oddly at peace with how his life has been here without any regrets, not even a single one. But Elizabeth misunderstands his smile as a challenge. So, in her infinite wisdom, she decides to throw boulders at his preciously built house. Meanwhile, Wang Chai calculates the trajectory of the attack and fires missiles at the incoming boulders. Elizabeth figures that Wang Guy is some kind of magical artifact tied to the MC, the so-called legendary hero. She's also convinced of her own superiority, so she does not bother to question it further and uses her magic to finish the job quickly. Meanwhile, Wang Chai defies every law of common sense and manages to calculate her attacks and turn them right back. Naturally, Elizabeth finds this laughable that the little thing is actually trying to teach her a lesson. Amused, and at the same time annoyed, she resolves to erase Wang Chai and, well, the whole area. While she is at it, she creates huge black holes, but her magic fails like a cheap firework, which leaves her standing there in confusion as she tries to figure out what went wrong. She wonders if our boy has done something inside that little house of his to mess with her power. Of course, the truth is far less glamorous. Our poor hero is lying on his bed and is completely resigned to his fate, probably mentally composing his farewell speech. Wangai, meanwhile, barks nonstop at Elizabeth, and she finds the gesture equal parts ridiculous and annoying. She then decides that enough is enough, and unfolds her wings and rushes towards the dog. An hour later, the MC wakes up and feels unsure if he is dead or alive. Everything is quiet, unnervingly so. He summons what little courage he has and tiptoes to the door to crack it open and hopes for the best, but sees the worst. There she is, Elizabeth, standing in the yard with Wang Chai dangling in her hands like yesterday's laundry. The poor dog looks thoroughly lifeless. Their eyes meet, and with someone tossing aside a used napkin, she throws Wang Chai to the ground. She then mentions something about being sorry for destroying his magic tool. Though her words lack any real care, our boy knows very well that there's no point in arguing with her and suggests they sit and talk instead of continuing whatever this mess has turned into. Elizabeth agrees to talk to our boy, but only after making sure he is 6 feet under the ground. Before she can make that happen, though, things take an unexpected turn. She realizes she has hit her breaking point and wonders if this is how it all ends for her. With all the grace of a toppled statue, she collapses. Our hero rushes over to check on her, but then things get weird as her clothes start disappearing. And as Elizabeth's body slowly becomes visible, the MC's nose starts bleeding like crazy. By the time night falls, Elizabeth wakes up to find herself on a bed. Her first thought is how humiliating it is for the Demon Queen to end up like this. She notices the handcuffs and assumes that our boy has decided to turn her into some kind of trophy instead of just finishing her off. She tries to use her magic, but realizes that the shackles won't budge. And more than that, their clinking makes it clear they are yet another overpowered artifact of our hero. She then looks around the room and takes in the odd collection of weird things. It all feels like a wannabe wizard's hideout to her, and she realizes that she might have underestimated the MC. He is not just annoying, but he is weird as well as annoying. Her train of thought gets interrupted when our boy walks in carrying some food. But before he can launch into whatever awkward speech he has prepared, she shuts him down. There is no way she will beg for mercy. So if he plans to kill her, he might as well get it over with. Our hero is nervous, but the poor guy is trying his best not to show it in front of the Demon Queen and just wants to talk with her. As for the handcuffs, he assures her that they are only there for safety. But to Elizabeth, it sounds like he is testing how much he can humiliate her before she snaps. The MC then tries to prove that he is not a bad guy and unlocks the cuffs. He even smiles like that will somehow fix everything. To Elizabeth, though, it feels like he is mocking her and acting like she is no threat at all. She suppresses the urge to blast him to bits and decides to play along for now, but later he will regret his attitude. Our boy then turns to leave to let her get some rest. Meanwhile, the question of why he has not killed her when he had the chance obviously lingers in the mind of many. For our hero, the answer is simple. In a world full of magic and resurrection skills, killing the Demon Queen could easily backfire. Plus, killing someone is not exactly his thing. He is more comfortable dealing with chickens and fish. His big plan to resolve their conflict is ridiculously simple. That is, become her friend. He feels proud of his brilliant idea and laughs to himself. Unfortunately, his laughter only convinces Elizabeth that he is mocking her. She glares at him while he notices that his poor companion, Wang Chai, has turned completely miserable in the middle of all this chaos. Elizabeth is curious whether Wang Chai is some powerful magic tool of the MC. To our boy, though, it is just a little gadget he just recently made out of boredom. Elizabeth, who is waiting for the perfect opportunity, sees it as her moment. She decides to use her infinite magic to recover her strength. As in her eyes, our hero has just lost his magic tool, and now the power is all hers. She throws him a half-hearted apology for breaking his toy, all while preparing to strike. The MC, on the other hand, is completely unaware of the Devil Correction Demon Queen's plotting and is busy taking out the memory card from Wang Chai. He then opens a shelf to reveal several more Wang Chai and reassures her not to worry, as he has plenty more. Elizabeth freezes and finds herself completely caught off guard. Our boy, however, slides a memory card into another Wang Chai and activates it. Then, Elizabeth catches a smell of something delicious. Despite her usual belief that she is beyond such trivial things like food, the smell pulls at her senses like a magnetic force. Our hero offers her some food made up of vegetables and grains he has grown himself. Elizabeth takes a bite of the dumpling, then another, as if she has no control over her own hands. The taste is an explosion like magical fireworks going off in her mouth. Even as a demon queen, she cannot deny that the flavor is irresistible. Then suddenly, the spice hits her like a punch, and soon she is sweating and trembling. The MC, who has added a bit of chili as per his own taste, begins biting his fingers nervously. As Elizabeth struggles to keep her cool, she thinks to herself that, of course, this evil hero is using food to imprison her for some sort of bizarre experiment. Our boy has carefully made a soup with different ingredients that can cut off the spice Elizabeth is feeling after eating the dumplings, but his food seems to mess with her head. One moment she is sure he is feeding her poison, and the next she feels like she is floating in the sky. Still she takes the spoon and eats it, and for a brief moment she feels stronger, like she has just discovered some hidden power. But then she snaps out of it and demands to know what he really wants from her. Our boy just simply wants to figure out how a demon queen and a hero can live peacefully together. But of course, Elizabeth misunderstands again that he just wants to use her as a test subject to get stronger and defeat her. She is furious because as a knight dying is fine, but being humiliated is not. Somehow though, she lets it go and decides it is not worth the fight. The MC on the other hand is completely thrown off that if she will kill him for messing things up. But instead of doing that, Elizabeth climbs onto the bed and makes it clear she is agreeing to his terms. Not because she is scared of him, but because she wants ultimate power. And of course, her deadly aura makes it clear that if anyone tries to make her bow down, she will destroy them. Our helpless boy, not really knowing what else to do, agrees to everything she demands, even the extra food. A year has passed, and our hero finds himself lost in thought while using the holy sword to chop wood. The demon queen has broken the village's protective barrier, and now it is as exposed as a rabbit in a wolf den. Monsters have started to show up, though they seem hesitant to come too close. Whether out of fear of the demon queen or common sense, who knows? But the MC cannot shake the thought that if Elizabeth ever decides to leave, he will be doomed. Just as he is drowning deep in thoughts, Elizabeth snaps him out of it as she demands lunch. And being the good servant he has become, he rushes to fulfill her request. The MC's survival depends on one thing, which is getting Elizabeth's protection. But Elizabeth, on the other hand, is happily oblivious as she lies on the couch with a packet of chips like she has nothing else to do. After a year of doing absolutely nothing, she has basically become part of the couch and is turning into a potato. But despite that, she has the audacity to complain about getting tired of watching the same stuff on TV. Our hero, however, has more important things on his mind. He invites her to lunch, but instead of walking to the kitchen like a normal person, she uses magic to fly there. She knows she has gotten lazy, but instead of owning up to it, she just blames our boy for feeding her chips that are making her lazier. The MC explains that the chips are putting on the calories and fat. Elizabeth then notices the extra weight around her belly and decides to turn that fat into magic energy instead. Our hero is stunned at the sight of the transformation of the extra fat into power so easily. Elizabeth now starts to boast about messing up another one of his non-existent plans. Our boy, who has long given up on arguing with her, just plays along with whatever she says. Elizabeth then starts to eat her food like there is no tomorrow. And the MC, who is now used to giving in, promises to make more. After all, he has accepted his fate to live with her in his near future. She immediately misunderstands that he is trying to fatten her up before killing her. Our hero, on the other hand, gets up to bring out the dessert. But as soon as he turns his back, Elizabeth feels tired of him feeding her and decides it's time to get rid of him. But the second she sees her favorite pudding, all thoughts of rebellion disappear and she starts drooling at the sight of it. Our boy knows exactly how to handle her. Just give her the right food and she is anybody's best friend. Meanwhile, somewhere far off, a man and a girl are running for their lives from some masked figures. The figure, however, casts a spell and traps them in a magical cage. The man grips his sword tightly and urges his daughter to run to the town for safety while he stays behind to hold off the attackers. But his daughter refuses to go anywhere without him. Deep down, the man knows he has to keep the promise he made her mother. That is to protect her no matter what. The masked figures are not just ordinary men, though. They are armed with magic, and the man knows he has to end this quickly before things get worse. So, with a swing of his sword, he slashes one of them down. But naturally, the others do not just go away. One of them transforms into something that looks like it escaped from a nightmare. The girl, still not getting the hint to run, shoots arrows at the beast, but they just bounce off like they're made of marshmallows. The man begs her to flee. He does not have the luxury of time. These are Dark Guild apostles, and fighting them is like trying to tame a wild tiger with a toothpick. But his daughter is not budging and insists on helping him. Meanwhile, one of the apostles dashes toward the man and punches him so hard he probably tastes his own teeth. Even lying on the ground half wounded, the man wants his daughter to leave, but she is not going anywhere. The creature, now looking like a cross between a monster and something out of a horror show, threatens to finish them off. The girl finally realizes the situation and offers to go with them if they would just spare her father, but the creature does not give a damn about her negotiation. He rushes to attack, but then something massive steps on it, and the whole area fills with dust. When the smoke clears, the girl opens her eyes to process what just happened. Standing there is Lord Mammoth, who has just crushed the creature under his weight. And atop Lord Mammoth is a shrine with the immortal frog inside, who reports to someone that the danger is eliminated. The immortal frog then asks what to do with the man and his daughter. And then a small house on the frog's top shows up. And guess who is there? It is none other than Wang Chai, who orders that the humans be spared as they will be taken to his master for further judgment. He wakes up in an unfamiliar room and feels confused. She quickly searches for her father, but cannot find him anywhere. Then the memory hits her that he has been injured. She starts to panic and runs to find him. She opens the door and is greeted by a sight she is not prepared for, in which her father Burrs is flexing his body like he is auditioning for a bodybuilding competition. And they're clapping in awe is our hero. Meanwhile, Wang Kai is doing circles around our boy like a well-trained dog is. But Elizabeth is not in the mood for this, and she kicks the puppy away. Apparently, Wang Chai's crime is bringing these uninvited guests into the house. Poor Wang Kai. Its robotic heart breaks as it recalls how it has recently been beaten and humiliated by the Demon Queen. And yet, its master is not paying attention to its suffering, but he is too busy admiring Bears' physique. Bears then decides to rip off his clothes. Well, except for the undergarments. Thankfully and flex again, as if our hero has not seen enough. Evil cannot believe her father, who was injured just hours ago, is now doing this. But then Burr finally sees her and calls her name. Before our boy can say anything, Elizabeth, who is far too annoyed for her own good, demands that Evil and her father leave. After all, she is the one who has been there first, obviously. The MC tries to save whatever dignity has remained and invites them inside to talk. Once inside, our boy offers them some tea. Evil eyes the cup suspiciously and wonders if it's some sort of magical tea that healed her father instantly. The MC clarifies that it's just warm water and nothing special. Meanwhile, Elizabeth is bothered by the uninvited guests, though of course, she has conveniently forgotten that she is not exactly on the guest list herself. As Burrs slowly regains some of his memories, he recalls how Wang Chai brought them back and how our hero gave him water, which somehow made him feel energized. After drinking the tea, something incredible happens. Evelyn and Burrs find themselves lying in a vast field and feel so refreshed they could practically float away. The sky is so beautiful it nearly makes them cry. And just like that, after a simple cup of barley tea, Evil transforms into a 1-star archmage, and not only that, but grows elf ears as well. Bears' archmage level also jumps from 3 to 4. The MC offers them some more, but Burrs gets overwhelmed by his kindness so much that he does not know what to say. Our boy, on the other hand, is helpless as he has no snacks to offer them because the devil-sorry Demon Queen has taken all of them and he cannot afford to poke her. Our boy just cannot resist asking why they are being attacked, and Burrs explains that it's all thanks to the elf bloodline and Evil's body. Evil then starts spilling her story. Apparently her mother was some saintess of the elf race who fell head over heels for Burrs despite the elf bloodline's strict rule against marrying outsiders. Our hero then gets curious if it's the elves who are after them. But Elizabeth shuts that idea down and declares Evil's whole story pure nonsense because the interracial marriage rule is as outdated as dial-up internet. All thanks to the Demon Queen unifying the world. Then Burr gets to share how, when his wife was unfortunately forced to go back to the Elfan, he heroically grabbed E and went into hiding. The MC cannot help but find this whole thing feels like one of those tragic love stories where everything is doomed from the start. But Burrs clears that up by mentioning the elves let them go because of his wife's sacrifice. And the real trouble now is the Dark Guild from the Demon Realm. Our boy glances over at Elizabeth, who looks like she is ready to bite someone's head off. He immediately realizes he might have hit a nerve, so he apologizes. Elizabeth, however, is still fuming, but decides to focus on the Dark Guild instead and demands more details. Burrs explains that the Dark Guild has been experimenting on humans and is trying to bring back the Demon Queen. And they apparently need elves for this project, which is why they are targeting Evil, who has not even activated her bloodline powers yet. Elizabeth sees right through our hero's thoughts, but he assures her he knows exactly where she has been all this time. Meanwhile, Burrs and Evil have no clue what kind of strange telepathic argument is going on between them. Elizabeth, who is clearly taken aback by how much the world has changed in just 1 year, demands to know who told them the Demon Queen is dead. Burrs explains that the Demon Queen disappeared 500 years ago, and if she were still around, she would have already come back to rule. Upon hearing that, the MC, who had been out of the loop for just a year, looks like he has aged 5 centuries right on the spot. Elizabeth, on the other hand, is eager to know more details about the source of the information regarding the Demon Queen's death. Avil mentions that according to some literature, the Demon Queen was killed by the legendary hero. The hero and the Demon Queen battled for an entire month, and in the end the hero sacrificed himself to save the continent, and they both died. At that moment, Elizabeth's aura turns about as deadly as a storm cloud on a summer day. The poor father and daughter duo immediately agree with Elizabeth that the rumor has to be false. Then the MC drops the bomb that he is the legendary hero. Well, according to the system anyway. But he does not stop there and also introduces Elizabeth as the Demon Queen. The father and daughter nearly pass out from the sheer overload of this unexpected information. Elizabeth, on the other hand, just as usual, misunderstands our boy's intentions and assumes that he is mocking her for being locked up by him. She gets furious and storms out while slamming the door with enough force to make the walls tremble. Burrs, who has been holding his breath all this time, finally exhales and turns to our hero regarding his plans about them. The MC, who is still in shock himself, decides to give it some time to let everything sink in. As night falls, Bears and Evil lie wide awake. The events of the day have completely thrown them off. They whisper back and forth with these still in shock. Though strangely, she has a twisted version of the truth in her head that Elizabeth has fallen for our boy, the legendary hero, and given up everything to live in hiding. Meanwhile, her focus is on our boy's advice to calm down. Just then, the MC appears like a ghost in the darkness to check why they are not asleep yet. Late into the night, the MC suggests they play cards. It sounds like a harmless idea. Unless, of course, you happen to be Evil and Burrs, who assume it is some kind of test to decide if our boy will spare their lives. As they sit down, he cannot shake the feeling that the cards are radiating some evil energy. She musters her courage to ask our hero what the game is called. The MC pauses for a moment and loses himself in deliberation over whether to hit them with the original name, which is completely incomprehensible for them, or just tone it down for their fragile human minds. Finally, he settles on Dragonfight, a name that seems anything but reassuring. Upon hearing the name of the game, Eve and Burrs panic like they have just been handed their execution orders. Meanwhile, there is someone else in the room as well, and it's none other than Elizabeth. She is hidden in plain sight thanks to her concealing magic. Our boy then gets to explain that the game involves 2 brave heroes teaming up to defeat a dragon, but the card will decide if they are heroes or the dragon. Evelyn and Burrs exchange looks that scream doom and dread, and their suspicions are now firmly confirmed. Our hero draws his cards first and looks satisfied with them. Then Burrs pushes Evil and she reluctantly reaches out, and the moment her fingers brush the cards, the entire room seems to shift. He feels her energy drain faster than a phone battery on a Zoom call. She whispers an apology to Burr, but he in his infinite optimism or perhaps denial reassures her that he has it covered. The MC asks that if they want to become dragons. Eve and Burrs immediately refuse, and our boy confirms it once again and then draws some cards to start the game. But as soon as the card reveals, his face gets dull. Seeing his reaction, Evil panics that whether they have somehow already failed this bizarre test. Our hero then goes first and places an 8. Burrs then goes next, and he treats his turn with the intensity of someone defusing a bomb. He carefully draws a jack and places it down. Evil skips her turn while our boy takes forever to think hard about his next move, only to pass as well. Burrs is stunned and realizes that our hero is dragging the game on purpose and forcing him to keep playing and draining his energy. To end this madness, Burrs decides to play all his cards at once. He uses a powerful combo called Flying Dragon as per the rules. But playing such big cards has a heavy cost, and now he is struggling with intense pain in his legs. Then suddenly, a giant roaring dragon illusion explodes out of nowhere and shakes everything. The dragon launches a fiery attack at the MC, and the father-daughter duo look ready to dive onto the bed. Elizabeth, on the other hand, watches the chaos just like she watches the television. But as soon as the dragon disappears, Burr's confidence vanishes too. His winning move, which he thought so, turns out to be a complete disaster. Not only is he losing, but he has also somehow managed to make our hero mad. Our boy, though, does not seem to notice the panic attack Burrs is having. He is lost in his thoughts and then compliments Burrs about his move. Before Burrs can even react, the MC passes his turn again. Burrs starts to sweat and shake like crazy, and makes his next move while evil skips hers. Then comes our hero's turn. Acting like he has all the confidence in the world, he plays a straight, and another illusion pops up, this time of giant waves crashing everywhere. The father and daughter cling to their lives, as if the waves are going to wash them away for real. When it finally stops, they look ready to quit. But nope, our boy is not done showing off. His next move brings out knights on some horse-drawn carriage. Burrs finally gives up, as he is now out of ideas and patience. Eve, however, decides she is done hiding behind her father. She ignores his warnings and mirrors the MC's move. The night is getting more and more disastrous, and Burrs cannot stop worrying about evil. She assures him that she is all right, though the look on her face says otherwise. Even the MC has to admit her guts. She is ready to do whatever it takes to protect her dad, even if it means breaking her own cards. But of course, that bravery costs Spurs 2 of his fingers. But as if things are not messy enough, our hero decides to fire up the chaos by pulling out the Joker cards. What follows is straight out of a horror story as the Supreme Clown King, a demon-lund nightmare, shows up. The clown is not exactly friendly and spots Elizabeth, and even threatens to kill her if she does not watch her step. Elizabeth, of course, is not having it. She's not just mad at the clown for treating her like some weakling, but also at our boy for summoning this overpowered nightmare without a second thought. She has barely managed to get to the 3-star demon god stage, and that is after swallowing her pride and taking help. And here is the MC treating the situation like a circus show. Meanwhile, Burrs is drowning in guilt and apologizes to evil for being useless. When Burr lays down his cards, his energy starts to drain. Even our hero looks a bit worried. He realizes Burrs is not fully recovered yet. When our boy sees the combination of Burrs' cards, he feels a bit dumb. Turns out Burrs could have ended the game way earlier, but let him mess around and feel like a card genius. He now feels a bit embarrassed and mixes up the cards to make the clown disappear and apologizes for the trouble and walks off. With the legendary hero now gone, the father-daughter duo can finally relax. Elizabeth, though, is busy making up wild theories in her head. She's convinced this whole thing is just our hero's way of stalling before he comes for her next. Finally, morning arrives, and the chaos of the night comes to an end. Burrs and Evil are ready to leave. They promise to keep our boy's secret safe. Our hero then hands Burr a pack of barley tea, and more than that gives him the deck of cards and acknowledges that his own skills are so bad he needs all the practice he can get. Elizabeth, however, has enough of their drama and practically pushes them out the door. As the two hurry away, Elizabeth finally feels like she can breathe. Everything is back to normal, or as normal as her life can be, and her first order for the MC is to bring her some food. Burr speeds off like he is racing the wind and drags Eve along with him. Poor Evil, who is barely able to keep up, begs her father to stop. But Burr is not listening. After all, he is too busy trying to outrun the ghost of the Demon Queen, who cursed them the night before. Apparently, she does not like being bothered. So, she has placed a curse on their necks and warned them not to spill the beans about her or our boy. If they do, well, the curse will activate and they will be on their way to the next world. Burrs finally stops and notices how far they have come. Evil also looks around and feels a sense of déjà vu that she has seen this place before. Burrs, however, is too busy being shocked at his own ability to run so far. Meanwhile, Wang Chai, who is the one who sent them here, is watching from a distance. With the corpses of the Dark Guild apostles still lying around, Burrs is not thrilled about staying there much longer and fears the place will crawl with demons soon enough. As Wangai decides to leave, the air suddenly feels heavier. And guess who decides to make a grand reappearance? It's none other than the Dark Guild apostles along with their leader, the Great Apostle, who apparently has a demon spirit level or two up his sleeve. Upon seeing them, he freaks out and wants Burrs to just leave her behind. Burrs, however, is not the type to run away from trouble. After all, he has survived a night with the Demon Queen, and a few apostles are nothing compared to that. He grabs the deck of cards given to him by our hero and tosses the apostles away. This time he is not about to back down because he knows that if he survives this little encounter, he can finally reunite Evil with her long-lost mother in the elf tribe. It will be just like when he went after her all those years ago. Then comes the big move. Burr summons the number 4s from his card deck, and out pops a giant figure. Evil recognizes that it's her mother. At Burr's command, the woman starts shooting arrows like a pro and takes out the apostles one by one. The Great Apostle tries to block her, but he does not stand a chance in front of the Elf Queen. His head goes flying, and that's that. With the battle won, Burrs collapses to his knees and looks like he has just run a marathon in full armor. Evil rushes to check on him, but Burrs has just invented an entirely new profession. And so on that day, the Card Master is officially born. A week passes since Evil and Burrs have left, and the MC is back to his peaceful farm life. Right now, he is munching on a watermelon and admiring the magical world's fruit breeding methods. Sure, the harvest is cool, but with no one to share it with, it feels as exciting as watching paint dry. At first, he was perfectly content with his quiet, peaceful life on the farm, but he knows really well that he is not exactly the brave adventurer type, and is weak after all, so he tries to suppress that desire down, but it is like a stubborn feeling that won't go away. Just then, Elizabeth pops in with her usual dramatic entrance. She notices our boy is looking all sad and just has to ask what is up. Our hero shares that he wants to go explore. Elizabeth suggests that he tag along with her. Upon hearing that, the MC's face lights up because obviously if the Demon Queen is with him, at least he won't have to worry about being weak. The duo then quickly gets ready and prepares to leave. Elizabeth uses her fingers and a magical portal appears. Before stepping through though, our hero hits her with a list of concerns. First, she has to promise not to ditch him halfway. Second, she needs to keep her emotions in check and maybe, just maybe, try not to attract unnecessary attention. To her, it probably sounds like he is giving her orders, but surprisingly, she agrees without too much fuss. Then comes his final concern, as he wants to know if she would come back with him after the trip, because obviously he is not about to test his survival skills alone in a village filled with monsters, the credit of which goes to her as well. Elizabeth agrees right away, as she has no intention of going before defeating him. But in return, she has a request of her own, which is a fruit pudding, simple, sweet, and totally Elizabeth. With everything finally settled, they step through the portal while leaving poor Wong Chai to guard the farm. Or maybe just sulk. On the other side, they find themselves in a vibrant town. Now they're in Boar Town, a neutral place. The MC gets all excited and acts like a little kid as he looks around from the equipment shop to the meat shop. He is running around happily, while Elizabeth notices that even after 100 years, the outside world has not changed much. He agrees that it does not seem as crazy as Burrs had made it out to be. Elizabeth takes all the credit for the supposed peace due to her incredible leadership that has saved everyone. Our hero is not listening, though he is too busy at a nearby stall where kids are selling dolls. Suddenly, a beast man who looks like a pig comes and kicks over the kid's stall with his rage directed at the little ones. Apparently, their church owes money to his gang, and they have the audacity to put a stall in his territory. The kids, especially the little girl, Annie, are understandably scared. She tries to stand her ground that they are not paying him a dime since the gang does not provide any protection. The pig head, however, does not seem to care much for her logic. Annie also does not back down either and warns him that the nun will be back soon to sort him out. As people gather to watch a good street drama, the MC cannot take it anymore and shouts at the beastman to stop. The pig head turns his attention to our boy, and of course, our hero has no idea what to do now. So, he silently begs Elizabeth for help. Though, judging by her cold shoulder, it's pretty clear she is not interested in playing the hero today. So, now our hero decides to play the crowd by announcing that the beastman is harassing a little girl. Surely, the people will step up, right? Nope. The audience remains silent, as they are probably too entertained by the free show to do anything useful. Then, the pig head notices the MC's southern clothes and starts drooling over Elizabeth. Our boy suggests they resolve things with a calm conversation, or better, yet offer some local specialties. But the pig head is not here for diplomacy. He orders his lackey to beat our hero and lock up Elizabeth. And that triggers Elizabeth. Sure, the MC has imprisoned her before, but these clowns think they can do the same. Not on her watch. Her anger triggers a sudden shift in the weather, and dark clouds with thunder start to roll in, as if the sky itself is telling the pig head he has messed with the wrong people. The pig head and his gang start to panic, probably wondering if it's going to rain or if their lives are about to be washed away. Our boy tries to calm her down that the entire town could be gone if she keeps it up. Elizabeth decides to spare them, but barely. Annie, who has been watching all the drama, is amazed by Elizabeth's power. The pig head is throwing all the fuss for just 10 gold coins. And upon hearing that, our hero turns to Elizabeth, who probably has more gold than she knows what to do with. He suggests borrowing a bit from her and offers to sell vegetables from his garden to pay her back. Elizabeth, however, calls him an idiot for suggesting such a ridiculous trade, especially since she did not even bother to bring her treasure chest along. Our boy then suggests using local products as payment. Maybe some of his garden veggies will suffice, but the pig head is not amused. Just as things are heading toward disaster, a pouch of gold coins comes flying out of nowhere and smacks the pig head in the face. It turns out to be from Hawthorne Theus, who wants the pig head to take the money and get lost. The pig head notices that the coins are from Thundersea Buckthorn, a powerful sword saint guild, and wisely decides to take the hint, at least for now, and back off. The MC helps Annie to her feet. He then offers Hawthorne some bananas as a token of gratitude. Hawthorne instead proposes a partnership that could solve their financial problems. Elizabeth, of course, is not interested, but our boy does not want to abandon someone who has helped him, so he insists on sticking around. Their next stop is a pub, but before entering, Hawthorne warns them to stay close. As soon as they enter, a beast man makes the unfortunate mistake of flirting with Elizabeth. Elizabeth shoots him a glare so icy it could freeze the sun. The beast man and his buddies have to look away. Elizabeth then turns to the MC and blames him for dragging her into this pathetic excuse for a gathering. Our hero turns her attention toward a private room. When the door opens, they're greeted by several women who immediately throw themselves at Hawthorne. Our boy freezes, and his jaw practically hits the floor as he tries to process that these are Hawthorne's wives. Yes, wives, plural. It seems like Hawthorne is running his own harem. They all then sit down for tea, and Hawthorne begins the introductions. First is Gasha, a shield warrior, then Lolo, an assassin, followed by Glee, a mage, and finally Galia, an elven archer. The MC shares that he has met another elf recently. Elizabeth, however, is done with the small talk and wants Hawthorne to skip the family reunion and get to the point, but her attitude annoys Gasha, who wants her to stop being so rude. Lo and Jalea also pass some harsh comments about Elizabeth's confidence and looks. Elizabeth is on the edge of an outburst. She gives them a warning that if they want chaos, she will be happy to deliver it, but they better not cry about it later. Our hero can sense that a storm is on his way, so he immediately pulls out his secret weapon, Elizabeth's favorite pudding. One spoonful later, her anger vanishes like it had never existed. Our boy then shares a ridiculous story about how they are members of some nameless tribe, with Elizabeth as their queen and himself as her loyal servant. It's the kind of nonsense that has no real purpose except to distract everyone and to give Lolo and Galia more material for their rude comments. They don't hold back and poke fun at Elizabeth again. The MC explains that it's her first time out in the world, and she is still getting used to all the cultural differences. Meanwhile, Hawthorne, who has been waiting for the drama to subside, finally decides to talk business. He announces his grand plan, according to which he wants them to join him and his wives in a treasure dungeon. He has also noticed the strange demonic energy Elizabeth displayed earlier, which does not exactly scream small-town princess. Our hero gets curious and asks Annie about these treasure dungeons. Annie explains that these are magical spaces created by ancient beings to hide valuable treasures, and they are hidden and dangerous. Hawthorne then reveals the real reason he needs them, and that is because the dungeon requires 8 people to break the barrier. Upon hearing that, Annie's mood takes a downer. She knows these dungeons are insanely hard to navigate, and as a mere 4-star magician, she does not feel up to the challenge. Our boy sympathizes with her, as his magical skills are not exactly impressive either. But Hawthorne reassures them that their job is just to be warm bodies to meet the head count. He and his wives will handle the real danger. And as for the treasure, they will be getting a few tens of thousands of gold coins. That number is enough to flip Annie's mood completely, from near tears to dreaming of gold in seconds. The MC glances at Elizabeth for her opinion, but she is too engrossed in her pudding to care and leaves the decision to him. Then comes the magic measurement. Hawthorne has Glee bring out a fancy crystal ball that supposedly determines everyone's magical level. Annie explains how it works, like she is giving a lecture. Hawthorne's level is already known, which is 4-star demon spirit, and his wives are somewhere between 4 and 5-star grand mages, so naturally he wants to know where the rest of the gang stands. Annie goes first and clocks in at a respectable 300. Next is our boy, who confidently places his hand on the ball and fully expects it to confirm his status as the legendary hero. They wait, and then the ball delivers its verdict that is a big fat 0. The MC's face falls faster than a failed soul. Reality hits him hard that years of farming are not exactly a substitute for magical training. He then announces that his true talent lies in agriculture. To prove it, he offers everyone some bananas he has recently harvested. Unsurprisingly, the wives decline and wonder why they are bringing a farmer to a treasure hunt. Finally, it's Elizabeth's turn. She is annoyed at being dragged into their antics, but still places her hand on the crystal. The moment she does, the room erupts with raw power, which leaves everyone covering their eyes. The MC is trying to look calm on the outside, but inside he is freaking out. If Elizabeth's real identity gets revealed, it won't just be trouble, but it will be a total disaster. He gives her a look with a silent SOS, and thankfully, she picks up on it. Her magic flares up and matches the exact level Annie has mentioned for high-ranking demon spirits. Upon seeing that, Hawthorne's wives look like they have seen a ghost. Meanwhile, our hero finally allows himself to breathe, probably for the first time in 5 minutes. Hawthorne, on the other hand, is thrilled. With Elizabeth's power confirmed, their chances of getting the treasure just go through the roof. Annie, who is new to all this, is having to witness dungeons and treasure hunts. She cannot wait to see what else will happen. Hawthorne then wants Glee to use a teleportation scroll, and in the blink of an eye, they're somewhere else. Our boy feels a bit dizzy, but at the same time finds teleportation awesome while Annie stands there shaking after seeing how calm Elizabeth looks. Hawthorne wants to rush into the dungeon, but Elizabeth announces that she wants to go home. They all practically explode. Gasha is furious, and even Glee and Galia are angry, but Elizabeth does not care at all. She just dares them to do something about it. The MC steps in and begs her to at least let him see what is inside the dungeon. Meanwhile, Annie cannot help but notice that the energy coming from the cave feels oddly similar to Elizabeth's. Our boy gets curious about it, but before he could get a word in, Hawthorne pushes him aside and promises Elizabeth that he will protect her and request her to cooperate. Elizabeth, however, ignores him completely. Instead, she turns to our hero and agrees to play along, which leaves Hawthorne fuming in frustration. She then starts to lead towards the cave with the MC tagging along like an excited puppy. Hawthorne follows behind, all while grinding his teeth so hard it is a miracle they don't break. As soon as they get inside, the barrier slams shut behind them, which definitely does not help our boy's mood. He starts panicking, and Elizabeth further scares him that the only way out is to either be stronger than the person who made the barrier or complete whatever task they have set. Glee tries to cheer everyone, or maybe just herself, with confidence in Hawthorne to find something, but Gasha shuts her up before she says too much. Annie gets full of questions, but Gilead assures her it is just treasure and gold coins. Then the path splits into different directions, and Hawthorne wants Glee to use her magic to find the shortest route. She does, but spreading her magic everywhere drains her energy, and she feels exhausted. Glee admits that her magic could not find the end of the maze, even after stretching it out for 3 whole kilom. Galia then suggests using her spirit divination power, though she is not convinced it will be of any help due to low accuracy. Lo proposes splitting into groups and backing it up with her clone technique just in case things go south. Meanwhile, our boy has a quiet chat with Elizabeth and learns that the maze is just an illusion. He suggests she pitch in to help them out of this mess. But Elizabeth is too busy enjoying the show. She does not want to bother when she can just let them dig their own graves and bonus points if they manage to drag our hero down with them. Annie, on the other hand, points toward the third curve. Something about it feels special to her, though she admits it might just be her gut talking. Glee, however, cannot sense anything, and is pretty sure Annie's instincts are off. So Annie wisely decides to keep quiet for now. Glee then shows interest in the last passage, as according to her powers, it has the fewest monsters. But Lola is all about splitting up and exploring everything while Gasha insists they should stick together for safety. After getting all sorts of suggestions, Hawthorne decides to go with Glee. Annie, however, is convinced the last passage is a terrible idea, and to prove her point, she uses magic on her doll and sends it in first. Turns out it's just as Annie predicted, and the doll gets destroyed by a bizarre mimic worm. Our poor hero nearly has a heart attack at the sight of the disgusting creature. Elizabeth explains that the mimic is a parasitic beast usually found inside giant monsters, and she is way more interested in leaving the rest to fend for themselves. She just takes the MC and heads further. Annie tries to intervene again, and Lo suggests using a clone to follow them and gather some intel, but Hawthorne decides a clone is unnecessary. He can practically feel the calmness radiating off Elizabeth. Her choice is not some random impulse, but a decision made with pure confidence. So, he decides to follow her. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the passage, something or someone waits for them to make its move. Hawthorne and his wives are busy fighting with the endless army of monsters, which seem to multiply faster than they can deal with them. In the back, the MC and Annie are hiding like they have found the safest spot in the world, which is behind Elizabeth. To Elizabeth, though, our boy's acting skills are so bad that even a blindfolded dog would know he is pretending. She can tell, but she does not say anything. Meanwhile, Glee is giving Elizabeth the dirtiest look because she is furious about being led down a monster-filled path. Elizabeth explains it is perfectly normal for monsters to show up around magic. Glee, though, is not in the mood for explanations, especially since Elizabeth, who is like the walking powerhouse, is just standing back and enjoying the show instead of actually helping. Hawthorne tries to cool things down, but Glee is not in the mood. To her, it looks like Elizabeth is trying to seduce her master. Gilia and Gasha suggest that they rest for a bit, but Elizabeth is not having any of that, as she is not here to waste time. Gilia and Lo then want Elizabeth to go on without them. Hawthorne tries again to get Elizabeth to take a break and drink some elf potion to recharge. Upon hearing about a mysterious potion, our hero wants to drink it as it might give him inspiration for his next great culinary masterpiece. Elizabeth can understand all too well that he has eaten his way through the finest dishes in existence and is now craving something simpler. And just for that reason, she agrees to take a break. As they sit down, Gilead proudly flaunts her special elf potion like it is a priceless treasure. Of course, Elizabeth, being the powerhouse she is, does not need it. But Hawthorne senses the rudeness in Gilead's words. So, she passes the potion to Elizabeth upon her master's command. But Elizabeth tosses it to the MC, who downs it faster than a starving man at a buffet. But the grassy taste is so strong he almost gags. He then offers it to Annie, who turns it down since she has not used much of her magic. Gilead's face turns bright red with anger after seeing her potion getting rejected. To make matters worse, Elizabeth decides to dump it. This, of course, only makes Galilea angrier. Now our boy in his simple mind has got the perfect fix for this mess with some of his treasured countryside delicacies. That is bananas. Everyone gets one, and then he hands Annie an apple. The simple gesture nearly brings Annie to tears. Not because she is sad about receiving an apple instead of a banana, but rather she thinks about the kids in her orphanage who have not had fresh fruit in ages. Our hero promises more fruit will be sent to her and the others. Gilead, however, is having none of it. In a fit of rage, she throws the banana away, and Glee squashes another one. Hawthorne, on the other hand, suggests they eat for now and promises something far more extravagant once they find the treasure. As he, Lo, and Gasha bite into their fruit, something utterly bizarre happens. The moment the fruit gets inside, they're suddenly teleported to a forest, all while wearing outfits that look like they come straight out of costume shop. They find themselves surrounded by some insect-like creatures in coats who are singing and dancing. They then start to dance, as well, and move in the weirdest ways, as if they are auditioning for the world's strangest musical competition. Back in the cave, Galia and Glee are left in shock as they do not know what to make of the weird dance performance happening right in front of them. Gasha, Lolo, and Hawthorne are pretty surprised when their magic levels suddenly shoot up after eating a banana and doing a strange little dance. They feel powerful, and our hero, who has been watching their dance, claps like it's the best performance he has seen in all of his life. Elizabeth, on the other hand, knows if they kept going they were going to be in trouble, and our boy has already figured it out and raised their levels in advance. Gilead is stunned by the sudden surge in magic, and Annie puts two and two together that it's all because of the MC's bananas. Galia, however, is still in denial that bananas could not possibly be magical. But Gasha, who has just become a 2-star demon spirit, insists that it's all thanks to the bananas. Lo, however, blames a Heil magician for some hidden enchantment in the bananas. Hawthorne, meanwhile, is in disbelief at jumping 3 stages in one go to become a 3-star demon spirit. He turns to our hero for the origin story of these magical bananas. Our boy is completely caught off guard. To him, they're just bananas. Hybrid crops, sure, but grown naturally with no magic involved. Galia and Glee are still hopeful and decide to eat the bananas too, as they hope for the same result. But before they can, the bananas turn into rotten mush. Annie recognizes this immediately. Apparently, the bananas only work if at least 3 people eat them at once. But then Glee points out that Elizabeth has eaten one, too. And Annie is left scratching her head, because if the user's power is not greater than the treasure, it should not have worked. Galilea thinks maybe it's her elf potion kicking in after all this time. Hawthorne turns to the MC for more bananas, but Gilead cannot, or maybe just does not want to believe it. Our hero, of course, has more, but before he can hand them out, Elizabeth just takes his backpack and declares that the bananas, including all the other fruits, are now hers. She then hurries him along, as in her eyes, the journey is almost over. Our boy apologizes to Hawthorne and promises to share more bananas if he can. He also wants to move together, but Elizabeth is already speeding ahead. And with Annie in tow, they are off. Lo, however, eyes the MC's backpack, but Hawthorne wants to wait. He has noticed that they're not dealing with ordinary people here. And Elizabeth, well, she is not just any princess from an unknown tribe. Hawthorne is not just interested in just mere magical fruits now, but he has his eyes on a much bigger prize. The kingdom of Aristotle is offering a huge reward for information about a missing princess, and he is pretty sure Elizabeth is the one they are looking for. But of course, that is not all. He has much grander plans. He wants Elizabeth to be his to gain more power in the kingdom. And as he focuses on his charm magic, his wives can feel the shift in the atmosphere. The trio keeps moving through the darkening maze. The MC feels like the passageway is endless, and he cannot shake the fear that they might never find an exit. Elizabeth, on the other hand, is convinced they are nearly there. Suddenly, something behind them begins to move. Annie is the first to notice, but before she can alert our hero, clouds of dust fill the air, and our boy starts to cough uncontrollably. There comes Hawthorne, all while carrying his wives, who look like they have been bewitched by something. He apologizes to Elizabeth for his delay and offers his services and even suggests that she hop on his back. Elizabeth, however, turns him down instantly because he is not exactly qualified to be her ride. Hawthorne looks a little offended, but Gilead is even more irritated. And then out of nowhere, her head just falls off and her body collapses to the ground with blood splatters everywhere. Everyone freezes, and for a moment, no one knows whether scream, faint, or just run. That is until some movement begins to happen on the ceiling and some disgusting creatures comes out called dragon fleas. One of the ugly things jumps toward Elizabeth, but she blasts it into oblivion like she is killing a fly. Meanwhile, Annie, who has already accepted that she's going to die in this very maze, just waits for her turn. Our boy, though, clings to Elizabeth like she is the last lifeline on Earth. And Elizabeth, well, decides to let the selfish get killed first. While Lola fights the annoying fleas, Glee casts a defensive shield around Hawthorne and Gasha. Then this selfish beastman shows his true colors and wants the trio to find their way out by themselves. While he decides to figure out Elizabeth's mysterious identity as the dragon fleas continue their attacks, things get worse and tables turn. Glee's magical shield breaks, and her head joins Jilia's in the Headless Club. And then Lo and Gasha are next in line, while Hawthorne also gets busy defending himself. Hawthorne swings his sword to slice dragon fleas left and right. Gasha, on the other hand, blends hand-to-hand fighting with magic, while Lo uses her assassination skills and cuts through the swarm with the precision of a seasoned pro. But no matter how hard they try, the fleas keep coming, and they are starting to wear out. In the middle of it all, Lo gets lost in her thoughts for a second, and that is when a dragon flea takes its shot. But Hawthorne kicks it away and saves Lo from a rather unpleasant end. Meanwhile, Elizabeth is still trying to figure out what the MC is going to do next. After seeing their true colors, she cannot help but wonder if he is finally going to stop pretending. Our boy is filled with regret as he has realized really well that he would much rather stick to farming in the village where the only thing trying to kill him is the occasional stubborn weed. Elizabeth then decides that they have suffered enough to reveal their true worth or lack thereof and wants our hero to stop sulking and get ready for what is coming next. She leads the way and leaves Hawthorne and his two wives to take care of the fleas. One flea follows them as well, but Annie, with the grace of a puppet master, kicks it away with her doll and takes care of it. As they keep going, Elizabeth casts some spell and a huge gate appears in front of them. It opens and they walk through it. Hawthorne also sees it and wants Gasha and Lo to hop on his back and rush to charge through the gate. Just as the gate is about to close, they barely make it inside. And what do they find on the other side is a room piled high with gold coins, jewels, and other shiny treasures. Our boy is excited as he looks at the mountain of gold coins in front of him. It is like a scene straight out of a fairy tale, except that Hawthorne, being Hawthorne, pushes him out of the way. Gasha also does her best to make sure Annie does not get any ideas about stepping into the spotlight. And the treasure is Hawthorne's true love now. He cannot even pretend to be grateful for their help anymore. Instead, he figures that the best way to show his appreciation is by trying to kill them. Our hero reminds him that they are even now, and maybe he should not go overboard with the whole death thing. But Hawthorne is not interested in fairness. With his eyes fixed firmly on the Demon King's nectar, gratitude is the last thing on his mind. Just as things are getting heated, the sound of a gold coin dropping fills the air. At first, it seems harmless enough, but then the ground rumbles like a giant's footsteps. Under the coins emerges a massive, terrifying golden dragon. The MC points it out to Elizabeth as if she has not already noticed the giant monster standing in front of her. Annie also goes into full-on panic mode, and the dragon's roar only makes things worse. Hawthorne, who is still convinced he can handle the situation with one epic strike, orders his wives to stall the dragon while he powers up for the kill. Lo and Gasha move into action with Lo taking the lead. She uses her clone technique and hopes to confuse the dragon. The dragon, however, is too busy being a dragon to care about a few clones. Meanwhile, to Hawthorne, this is it, and the dragon is the last hurdle, and it's time to unleash his full power. As he gathers all his energy, Lo switches tactics and uses her assassination skills to strike from multiple angles. The dragon does not even flinch. It is like poking a rock with a toothpick. Then it is Gasha's turn. She transforms her magic into a shield and throws it at the dragon. Gasha feels pretty pleased with her recently upgraded attack and thinks it is flawless. Too bad the dragon does not agree. With a swipe of its claw, it sends her flying. Upon seeing that, Lo gets fed up and decides to pull out the big guns and uses her 1,000-person clone technique. Sure, she knows it won't do much damage, but she is convinced that these clones will at least keep the dragon distracted. Unfortunately, the dragon sends a shower of gold coins flying and wipes out all of Lo's clones in seconds. Of course, the coins does not spare the trio as well. Elizabeth, who is safely wrapped in her protective barrier, cannot help but notice how shockingly calm our hero seems. But what she does not know is that he is not calm at all. He is frozen in place and is completely paralyzed by the chaos. Meanwhile, Annie summons a giant bear doll to block the storm of coins. But Lolo is still obsessively focused on protecting Hawthorne and uses her clones to shield him. But in the process, she totally forgets about herself. Predictably, one of the coins hit her right on the head. In the meantime, Hawthorne finishes charging up and unleashes his lightning flash technique as he is fully convinced that even a demon spirit cannot block it. But as the dust settles, his overconfidence takes a turn. His sword, rather than cutting the dragon, breaks into 100 pieces. And of course, the dragon just casually kicks him away like he is nothing. Now standing there is the 4-star demon sect dragon, and it is ready to face the trio. Our boy has just watched Hawthorne get slapped by the dragon's tail, so he decides it's time to use his secret trick. Elizabeth, on the other hand, seems more interested in guessing what is going on in his head. Our hero wants her to get moving. Otherwise, they're going to end up as dragon food. And by they, he means him. Elizabeth is not exactly happy about the MC bossing her around like she is his assistant. Annie, however, is not focused on the dragon or the fact that our boy and Elizabeth are practically at each other's throats. But she is trembling as in her mind the real nightmare has not even shown up yet, and she is sure they are not making it out alive. Elizabeth then walks over to Annie. She places her hand on Annie's head, and to her something about Annie's magic feels strange, almost familiar. It reminds her of the Jim bloodline. As Elizabeth looks deeper, Annie's memories flood in. She sees flashes of a happy, peaceful church where little Annie played and laughed. But that peace did not last long when apostles appeared and destroyed everything. Annie remembers a nun who had once been kind to her. But that woman's smile feels sinister in her memories. And then the violence began. One of the apostles tried to choke her to death, and that is when her power exploded. It came out with such terrifying force that it wiped out everything around her. Apostles, children, and adults. No one was left. Now back to the present. Elizabeth realizes that the girl has suppressed her power so far down that she has even messed with her own memories. To Elizabeth, it's just pure stupidity. And Annie is a disgrace to her bloodline. Annie, on the other hand, is too busy apologizing through her tears to the children she has killed back then. Elizabeth tells Annie that if she is done crying, it's time to stand up and do something. Otherwise, she could just sit there and wait for the dragon to eat them. Elizabeth's words shift something in Annie, and she is no longer thinking about her guilt anymore, but rather about protecting someone, and that is the MC. She summons her magic, and puppets of different kinds appear around her, and they charge at the dragon. The dragon roars and kicks the puppet panda. The panda puppet holds tightly onto the dragon's claw, while the rabbit puppet takes the dragon's body as a punching bag. The dragon lets out a scream, but the punches keep landing one after another. The MC watches with curiosity and tries to figure out what Elizabeth has done to make Annie change so much. But Elizabeth's big move is just a gentle reminder to her to face the present, and nothing groundbreaking really. The dragon slams the rabbit puppet to the ground, but the rabbit grips the dragon's other claw tightly. The snake puppet now makes its entrance and wraps itself around the dragon's body. The dragon retaliates by whipping up a hurricane with its tail. The owl puppet then comes into action and does its best to block it. Our hero cannot help but admire Annie's puppet mastery, though his thoughts then shift to the mysterious Jim bloodline Elizabeth mentioned a few moments ago. But before he can dive into the mystery, he suddenly stumbles and barely manages to catch himself. Turns out it's a lightning flash attack from Hawthorne, who somehow is still alive. And on top of that, he is holding our boy's backpack. The MC is now very interested in getting it back, but Hawthorne is in full-on crazy mode. He starts to eat all the fruits inside the bag. Our hero is absolutely confused, and before he can process it, Hawthorne pulls a full transformation and turns into some sort of beast form of unknown power. Hawthorne has just turned into a disgusting-looking monster, and he cannot stop talking about how powerful he has become. It's hard to decide which is worse, either his ugly new form or the way he keeps bragging about it. The dragon is also unimpressed by his big talk and tries to get rid of him with a powerful breath spell. But Hawthorne manages to dodge it just in time and then charges at the dragon with a kick so strong it knocks the beast to the ground. Hawthorne does not stop there. He goes straight for the Demon King's nectar, drinks it, and changes into an even darker version of himself. Our hero, who has been watching his transformation in shock, knows things are getting worse fast. He turns to Elizabeth and hopes she has some idea of how to fix this. But instead, it's Annie who steps up and acts all confident to take care of things. She tries to use her magic again, but Hawthorne stabs her in the chest. Our boy freezes and stares at Annie as she collapses. He ignores everything else and rushes to her side and assures her that Elizabeth will save her. Meanwhile, Hawthorne, who is all high, turns to Elizabeth with a ridiculous offer, according to which she can either be his queen and help him take everything over or let herself be used as a pawn in his twisted plans. The MC now boils with anger and curses Hawthorne. He wishes Elizabeth would just end it and kill him. But Hawthorne is not satisfied with messing with everyone and moves to jump on our hero. Just as he is about to crush him, something slaps him back and sends him flying. Our boy, who is now fed up with holding back, decides it's time to show his true power. Hawthorne is absolutely confused. After his attack, it feels like all the damage he has caused has slapped him right back in the face. He cannot wrap his head around it. Elizabeth, however, has it all figured out. She knows exactly that our boy has manipulated Hawthorne into being his own destroyer, as even she cannot bring herself to harm something created by our hero's hands, no matter how badly she wants to. The MC, meanwhile, just stands there all confident that he is indeed the legendary hero. But in reality, he has no clue what is really happening. In his little delusional world, he is Elizabeth's devoted servant who feeds her gourmet meals in exchange for her protection. And this time, she's saved him as well. As long as he is useful, she will keep him safe. He has it all figured out in his mind, but the poor guy is wrong. Hawthorne, on the other hand, is not bothered by the odds. He just laughs. Less than half of his power is used, and he is already winning in his mind. He rushes at Elizabeth and is pissed off that she rejected him. But then he gets hit by something and sent flying. Not the glorious victory he imagined. Disgusting beastmen. He cannot understand what is going on when suddenly there is a dragon. And not just any dragon, but the Golden Dragon Queen, no less, with a 1-star Demon King rank. The dragon turns its tail toward Elizabeth as if it is asking for a little pat on the back. Despite being on death's door, Hawthorne refuses to admit he is beaten, but the dragon has enough of his stupidity. With a swipe of its claw, it stabs him. Our boy is shocked by what has just happened, so he turns to Elizabeth to confirm it. Elizabeth explains to him that the space they are in is fake, but then suddenly the two of them and Annie begin to float. The dragon and Elizabeth starts to speak in some weird language. Then, in a blink of an eye, the dragon transforms into a girl named Amelia. She gets teary and clings to Elizabeth and starts to complain that she has been waiting forever for her to return. Well, that is a plot twist no one saw coming. Amelia is not just some dragon. She is Elizabeth's pet. First, let's talk about Amelia's story, which starts in a forbidden land between heaven and earth. Elizabeth finds her there as a fragile little egg. With the help of her magic, she brings Amelia to life, gives her a name, and eventually trains her into a loyal disciple. To Amelia, Elizabeth is not just her master, but also the whole package, including a mentor, a playmate, and a person who gave her life meaning. So, obviously, Amelia decides she will stick to Elizabeth and silently vows to protect and serve her forever. Over the years, their bond becomes rock solid. Amelia evolves from a rookie to Elizabeth's trusty partner and carries her through battles against all sorts of creatures. So, when Elizabeth decides to rule the world to end all wars, Amelia does not hesitate for a second, and she is Alan. At first, it is all rainbows and victories. But soon, Amelia starts to notice something unsettling. Elizabeth's smile, which was once radiant, begins to fade like a poorly painted wall in need of a touch-up. Elizabeth gets stronger, and Amelia, well, she feels like she's watching her own powers fade in front of her master. Things come to a breaking point when all the drama over the Holy Sword starts. Amelia is off doing her usual patrol, following orders of her master like a loyal servant, while everything back home begins to fall apart as Elizabeth leaves in search of the legendary hero. 10 years pass, and Elizabeth's chancellors are losing their minds. Rebellion is on the rise, crime is up, and things are moving towards the worst. Heimerdinger suggests they split up and go stabilize their respective regions. Twillia, on the other hand, turns to Jim, who is the one who knows Elizabeth best for some sort of reassurance. Jim is sure of one thing, and that is there is no way Elizabeth will lose to some legendary hero. But Amelia is beyond caring about any of that. She is too busy sipping wine and reminiscing about the good old days when she was Elizabeth's favorite. So she returns to the spot where Elizabeth had found her all those years ago in the hope that maybe, just maybe, her master will come back there one day. Seasons turn into years, and now Elizabeth finally returns, and things are going to go back to normal, at least in Amelia's mind. Elizabeth, however, did not want Amelia to cling to the past, but she wanted her to meditate and grow stronger like some demon queen level powerhouse. But Amelia misunderstands the whole thing. She begs Elizabeth not to leave her behind, as she is convinced that the reason for Elizabeth's disappearance all these years was for her. And then there is our hero who turns Elizabeth's focus back to saving Annie instead of dwelling on the past. Just in time, Annie wakes up, but Amelia is now fuming. Elizabeth is not even looking at her, but she is busy focusing on this some guy. And just when Amelia thinks things could not get worse, she finds out that this random guy is the legendary hero, the one responsible for taking Elizabeth away all those years ago. That is it for her, and she decides she has to settle things with him once and for all. The MC, who is totally clueless, happily introduces himself. Amelia, however, transforms her hand into a dragon claw and rushes at him to teach him a lesson. But instead of landing a hit, her attack bounces off. Our hero, who is still oblivious of her intentions, holds out his hand for a handshake because in his pure eyes, she is just a friend of Elizabeth. Elizabeth, however, corrects him. She is her ride, which turns on our boy's wild imagination, and he pictures the human form of Amelia carrying Elizabeth on her shoulders. Elizabeth uses magic, and in no time, they're back home. Amelia is completely amazed to witness her master's power once again. The MC, on the other hand, is also impressed to how easily he is back in his peaceful village. In his mind, one thing is obvious, which is to stick with Elizabeth, and his life problems will all disappear. As for Annie, she's out cold thanks to the teleportation. Elizabeth wants our boy to take Annie inside and let her rest while she deals with Amelia, who stands there waiting like an eager student ready for instructions. Elizabeth now has some bigger problems like figuring out the Dark Guild in the Demon Realm. Amelia explains it is created by someone named Malfoy, a name that sounds vaguely familiar to Elizabeth. As for why it matters to her, it is because this guild has been killing a whole lot of people while claiming it's all in the name of bringing her back to life, and Elizabeth finds it absolutely annoying. She then gives Amelia her orders to wipe out the Dark Guild while keeping her name and location hidden. And as a reward, she will finally earn her freedom. Upon hearing that, Amelia lights up. Though her excitement is mostly about being able to curl up in Elizabeth's bed every night like a spoiled kitten. With her mission clear, Amelia moves off into the sky, but her grand takeoff does not go as planned. Out of nowhere, something hits her hard. She turns to see her attacker and finds Wangshai, who has apparently decided she is its target practice for the day. Another missile comes flying at her, but she blocks it with her dragon wings. She starts to feel confident until an entire wave of missiles rains down on her. By the time the smoke clears, Amelia looks less like a powerful dragon and more like a burnt chicken. But Wangai is not done yet. It notices she is still alive, barely, but alive, and then starts preparing for another round. But before it can act, Elizabeth gives it a death stare. Wangshai obviously does not want to get on the Demon Queen's bad side, so it quickly adds Amelia to the do not attack list, pretending it has not just roasted her. Meanwhile, poor Amelia hovers there, beat up, humiliated, and on the verge of tears, and wonders what she has done to deserve this nightmare. Our boy makes some fresh orange juice for Annie. Annie, who is still shaking, takes the glass and starts drinking. As the juice goes down, she feels its power, like the pulp and magic are helping her relax and energizing her. But then her vision blurs, and the ghostly image of the nun appears who spouts nonsense about embracing her true self. Annie, being the emotional wreck she is at the moment, bursts into tears. Meanwhile, the MC flops onto the sofa like a hero returning from battle. Well, in his head anyway. He savors his little taste of adventure when Elizabeth walks in. One glance at Annie is enough for Elizabeth to declare that she remembers everything. And then Elizabeth starts a grand tale. Apparently, Annie's ancestors pledged eternal loyalty to her, the Demon Queen. And with Annie's bloodline awakening, that promise is back on the table. Annie's jaw drops as she connects the dots. She realizes that Elizabeth is the Demon Queen and glances at our boy to confirm if he is the legendary hero. And then her imagination takes off. She makes up a story about Elizabeth and our hero battling for supremacy for an entire month, and then falling madly in love and retreating into seclusion for 5 centuries. To Elizabeth, it's almost accurate. But our boy, on the other hand, wants Annie to stop saying anything as he fears her words will make Elizabeth mad. Elizabeth then turns her attention back to Annie. It turns out that when Annie's bloodline awakened, she went out of control and wiped out everyone in her orphanage. And instead of owning up to it, she fools herself into believing she is waiting for the nun to return. Elizabeth is not done here. She digs deeper that Annie's so-called siblings are actually enchanted dolls sustained by her magic no less, which explains why she has not progressed beyond the magician level. And the sad reality is that Annie tried to protect her loved ones from the apostles, only to lose control and kill them all. The weight of it all hits Annie like a truck. Her head throbs as memories crash back. Before she loses herself, Elizabeth knocks her unconscious. Our boy moves just in time to catch her. Elizabeth reassures him that Annie is just asleep and that it's the only way to stop her from accidentally destroying everything. The MC realizes the responsibility is now on him to figure things out. The church is quiet with the soft sound of sewing in the air. Annie lies on a bed and is asleep while our hero works on sewing a doll. Then Annie finally wakes up and apologizes to our boy for causing nothing but trouble. She now remembers everything that she was the one who caused harm. The MC corrects her that she is not some cold-blooded killer. She has only acted to protect her siblings. Still, Annie continues to sob and blame herself. Our hero then moves the conversation away from Annie's personal pity party and onto the dolls. He points out that while the details are impressive, Annie has tied way too many knots to keep the cotton from escaping. He tells her the knots will make the doll lose its spirit, but it's okay. They can fix it together. Annie, however, is still tangled in her dark thoughts. Our boy then shares a popular quote with her. He urges her to raise her chin and find strength in facing the truth. He then hands her a doll he has made just for her, a cute little angel. He names it Raphael and hopes that it might help heal her emotional scars or at least offer a distraction. Annie takes the doll, and as she does, she can feel the presence of her siblings. She finally musters up the courage to say goodbye to them and promises to protect the church. Our hero offers his thanks to the books from the system for the lessons in psychotherapy. Still, he knows he has to check on Annie every now and then. After all, he cannot fix everything in one go. Amelia flies through the dark, muddy skies of Death Swamp in the demon realm and looks down at the mess below. Seeing how her master's land is destroyed makes her wonder if someone is trying to practice how much they can ruin. She cannot believe how bad it has gotten. As she lands, some ugly creatures eye her like she is their next meal. Amelia deals with a few of them, and the others scatter in fear. Then a voice breaks the silence. A dark witch-like figure appears. Kuruad, a 5-star demon ancestor, one of the Dark Guild's 6 pillars. She makes it clear that she is not happy to see Amelia. Meanwhile, in the Dark Guild Hall, millions of strange eggs containing creepy creatures are placed together like some kind of trophies. The 6 pillars of Dark Guild stand around, and they sense something strong is coming their way. Farazdak Samawi, a 1-star demon sovereign, suggests that the invader could be looking for revenge after Ghana's army got wiped out trying to attack the Sword Saint Guild. Ruth Bader, a 2-star demon ancestor, trusts her to deal with the invader. While experiment number 24, another 1-star demon sovereign, suggests that William Elizabeth, a 3-star demon ancestor, should go have some fun with the invader. But William is not interested. Diego Cthulhu, a 4-star demon sovereign and the Dark Guild's vice president, declares that no matter how tough the invader is, they won't leave alive. And at the top of everything sits Malfoy, the Dark Guild's president, a 1-star demon sovereign. Back in the swamp, Kerr is burning in confusion and is trying to figure out why her magic suddenly is not working. Even her magic tools are becoming useless. In a last-ditch effort, she decides to teleport to the guild hall to give the others an update. But Amelia crushes her with a dragon claw and turns her into ash. With Kerr now gone, the remaining great apostles eye the empty spot in the pillars and start planning how to take down Amelia while she is supposedly tired. Amelia does not even care. She sees them as nothing but trash. One roar from her golden dragon turns them into dust. And she just keeps moving forward like it's no big deal. She soon runs into a monstrous creature guarding the gate of the Dark Guild Hall. The creature tries to act tough and demand Amelia answer its questions or die. But Amelia just kicks it aside and walks through the gate. Finally, she meets Malfoy, who instead of looking like the decent guy he used to be, has aged into a twisted, ugly version of himself. To Amelia, he does not look like a threat anymore. In fact, it's starting to feel more like a joke. Amelia knocks Malfoy out in just one hit, which leaves his demon pillars to just stand there completely stunned. But surprisingly, Malfoy is not actually dead. He regenerates himself and starts talking about how strong Amelia has become. But at the same time, he is also curious why she has woken up all of a sudden and guesses she must have run into Elizabeth. But before Amelia can answer, tentacles shoot up from the ground and grab her. And here comes Joe, all in delusion that he is going to become the new Lord of Demons by taking her out. Amelia is not exactly impressed. She starts biting the tentacles, and Joe thinks it's a waste of time. The thing is, Amelia does not care about his opinion, and she keeps swallowing them one after another. Diego, who has been bragging about how big and tough he is, quickly changes his tune. In a matter of seconds, he goes from boasting to begging for his life. But Amelia is way too hungry to let him go and finishes him off in no time. Then Ruth comes. She is clever and pretends to surrender, but then tries to use a seductive kiss attack to make Amelia her puppet. Nice try, but Amelia plays along for about a second and then gets bored and throws her aside. As for William, one would think he would have learned something after seeing the vice president and his dad turned into a meal. But nope, he thinks he can take on Amelia. Poor kid does not even get a chance to blink before she kicks him halfway across the place. Next comes experiment number 24, who decides to give it everything it has. Fazdoc does the same and shows off all his muscle power, but they both get slammed by Amelia's wing like they're nothing more than bugs. Then Amelia turns to Malfoy and makes it clear that he does not even come close to being her match. Malfoy surprisingly admits that she is stronger, and he envies her since as a human he would not get the chance to reach that level. But Amelia is not in the mood for chit-chat, and she gives him a choice to either kill himself or fight for his life. He knows that there is no way he can win, but he has someone else who can help him, and it turns out that certain someone looks a lot like Elizabeth. A month passes, and our boy is out tending to his daily routine. But something is off. He is lost. Well, guess you cannot be the legendary hero and always be cheerful. Elizabeth also can tell something is bothering him. One night, after days of going through depression, our hero finally decides to face whatever is on his mind. The next morning, he presents Elizabeth a delicious bowl of ramen, and she notices he is acting strange, like he is about to drop a bombshell. The MC then starts the conversation by pointing out that after living together for so long, Elizabeth can sense he is not a threat to her. In fact, the two of them, that is the legendary hero and the demon queen, can live peacefully together. And now he has a request for her, as he wants her to return to her place, pick up where she left off, and start ruling the world again. To Elizabeth, that came out of nowhere, and she has no idea.